Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
What's up, everybody? Phil here at Bull City Pictures with another product review. Today we're going to look at the Panasonic Lumix G7. It's a micro four thirds camera. It's got a 16 megapixel sensor, supports 4K video, and MP4 and ACV HD. Also supports shooting RAW and JPEG. Comes with Wi-Fi capabilities, which are pretty cool. There's an application you can use to transfer and also to control the camera while you're doing video recording and taking photos. There's an OLED viewfinder, easy for me to say, in there. 2.3 million dots, really good viewfinder, not a lot of lag at all. Does a really good job. We also have a 3-inch flip out, fully articulated screen with 1.4 million dots. Does pretty well in the bright sun like others. It's a TFT screen. It can get washed out. It's a contrast detect autofocus system. It supports panoramic mode, also time-lapse and stop motion. You can see here, and there's actually a mode dial for that, so you can go from single shot, continuous. There's also a 4K photo mode, which allows you to take a burst of 60 shots. So that's 2 seconds basically at 30 frames a second, and then select the best shot. So if you're in a situation where you're shooting sports or something to that effect, you can capture a 2-second frame rate, basically almost like a video, and then select the best still from that. It also supports something called post focus, where you can choose your focus point actually after you've created the shot or after you've taken the shot. So if it's a flower or something like that, you can take a shot, and then post-focus mode, you can choose where you actually focus, and the camera will take care of that and then export a JPEG for you. It's got a built-in flash, which is sufficient. If you want any real good lighting, you'll use external lighting or off-camera flash. It supports silent mode, and the battery life, they say you'll get about 400 shots from the battery, and the way this camera is particularly set up, and I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see that, but you have your battery and your compact flash card in the same area. The good news is if you have a standard tripod mount on here, it does not necessarily interfere with getting to either the battery or the compact flash card, depending on the type of mount you're using for your tripod. This is a great travel camera. It weighs about a pound or just under a pound altogether with the kit lens. The kit lens is a 14 to 42. This is not the kit lens. This is a smaller 12 to 32 lens. And with these micro four thirds sensors, they're smaller sensors. So as you look at this has a crop factor of 2x, which means on this 12 to 32 lens, it would be the 35 millimeter equivalent of a 24 to 64 lens, and something you have to factor in when you're trying to figure out focal lengths and the crop factor. Being a micro four thirds sensor, it's a smaller sensor, so it doesn't necessarily do as well in low light as other cameras like APS-C cameras would or a full frame camera would. It does a decent job, but it's not going to be the same. The good news is the image stabilization is pretty good. There's no in-body stabilization, but the lenses do have stabilization, and I found that in some cases I can shoot up to half a second shutter speed with this image stabilization on, and it does a really good job. I'll show you some pictures actually. We have some pictures and videos that will go back to the computer, and I'll show you some of the shots that I have with this from my trip to Walt Disney World, as well as some video that I had taken. Overall, again, ergonomically, I like it. I like the layout. I like the control dials here. They do turn maybe a little bit too freely and can be bumped accidentally, but you have your front and rear control dial. Have your mode dial like you do on most cameras. The menu system is intuitive. It's also extremely customizable. There are 5 buttons that you can use to customize, to program to do just about anything, as well as some soft buttons on the menu system where you can actually touch the screen and change the menus to pretty much meet whatever you want. The touch screen is great. It's usable in every part of this camera. For viewing, you can pinch and zoom. For menu navigation, it's a really well implemented touchscreen. Panasonic has been doing this for a while, and their touch screens are great, and the integration with their menu system is great. It's a really, I believe, to be an intuitive menu. So we're going to take you back to the computer. We're going to look at some photos that were taken, also look at some video, and then I will come back with my conclusions on this Panasonic Lumix G7. Okay, here's a shot of Spaceship Earth at Epcot. You can see the particulars about how the shot was taken, the speed, shutter speed, f-stop, ISO, all that good stuff. You can see it's a pretty good sensor, pretty good color reproduction. It looks pretty real. Again, you can see what the image was shot at above. I found again that it's a great stills camera. It does very well. Again, certain shutter speeds seem to be shutter shock, but not any of these that I have here. These all seem to be really clear. And I wanted to show you the high ISO performance of this. So I'm going to show you a shot here at 1600. Again, not necessarily great. I'm going to zoom in here for you. You can see that it's a little bit of grain. This was straight out of the camera. Also took one at ISO 200 at half a second just to show you what it can do. And you can see that it's not extremely sharp, but you can see that there's no noise at ISO 200. And now here's one that I processed in Lightroom at ISO 1600 using Lightroom's noise removal. Noise reduction does a really good job. Also, here's some video I shot at 4K 30 frames per second. I did nothing but just raised the exposure a bit. This is at Hollywood Studios. Cool little show that they had, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam, for the holidays. Video looks really good. This video, along with all the stills, were shot handheld. This is a 15-minute show. My hands were a little bit shaky at the end of the show, but you can see with the image stabilization on how well it does, even being handheld here. It did struggle a bit with focus, primarily because it was fairly dark, obviously, and it's not necessarily the greatest camera for autofocusing when you're in video mode, but the video is just amazing. And this is again with the kit lens. So all in all, just super impressed with the video here. Again, I'll just be quiet for a second and let you take in this video. I've also shot, although I don't have any samples here today, in daylight at ISO 200. Does a really good job. You can also use auto ISO, which I believe I did for this clip. When you're in aperture priority, you can set it to auto ISO. So there's the video. Again, just looks really good. Those were the photos in the video that you saw with this Panasonic Lumix G7. My conclusion, my thoughts on this: great camera. Very reasonable. You can find deals for around $500 if you watch. With the kit lens. The kit lens, again, is a 14 to 42. It's a decent enough lens. It's not great. The good thing about the Micro Four Thirds system is they have quite a bit of quality lenses if you want to build up the system. And you can also use Olympus lenses. Olympus and Panasonic both support the Micro Four Thirds system. Really no complaints. Nice and compact. Travels well. Works well. Ergonomically, it's great. The menus are great. One thing that I do notice is that at times there can be shutter shock, and that shutter works in such a way that it will cause your shots to become blurry or not sharp at certain shutter speeds. I don't know. I haven't been able to pin down those speeds, if there is a speed in which it always happens, or it might be situational. I haven't found it to be a big deal in my photography. Also, there is a 4K crop. This is a 2x crop factor to begin with, and then when you shoot in 4K video, there's an additional crop that's applied to your video. And you can see that if you're looking in video preview. Not a big deal. Again, you might go a little bit wider with your lens selection than you think you would need in order to be able to accommodate for that crop. Thank you for watching this video. Appreciate it. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, please click on that little bell icon. That will allow you to be able to get updates whenever we release a video. We do photography-related videos here. Videos like this review for the G7. We've also got a G85 review. We'll do tutorials from time to time, and also maybe a vlog. So again, thank you. Please consider subscribing, and we will see you again in the next review.